really honored to have this opportunity to share with each of you, and thank you for spending your Sunday morning with me, wherever you are in the world. So today I'm going to share what is Lu Jong and a little bit about its main purpose, what you can expect to receive if you practice it regularly, and some of the rich context, the background that it comes from. And then I'd like to share an experience of Lu Jong with you. So I do intend to do a portion of this talk being movement, and I'll just give you a little taste of the movement so you have an idea of what we're talking about and how it feels in your body. So I'll just jump right in. So what is Lu Jong? So it is from the Tibetan tradition, and it's a series of movements, but these movements have the purpose of self-healing. So we're cultivating our own self-healing capacity as we do this. And the main way that it's doing. Was I muted then? I just got muted. I think it's okay now. So what I was saying is the purpose of Lu Jong. So it's for generating self-healing, and it does this by releasing tension. And this refers to both tension in the body and tension in the mind. So basically, the goal of Lu Jong is openness. We're releasing blocks, we're releasing tightness everywhere, and we're just creating more of an open expansiveness. The way that it accomplishes this is this combination between movement and the breath and mindfulness. Okay, so the movement portion, these are a series of movements, and the way that they function is that the body gets into a particular position, and then we move in a way to apply and release pressure. We're applying and releasing pressure like this. And this is effectively massaging certain points, massaging them open. So each movement is targeting particular points in the body that commonly become blocked. So the movement is just like a nice, gentle massage of these points to open them. And then layered on top of that is a breathing pattern. So it's like it adds to the flow and rhythm of the movement that we add another layer of the breath. And then finally, the secret ingredient here is to add your mindfulness to it. So what this means is just being really, really present with your practice and just noticing the sensations. So just being really aware of what the body is experiencing. And this is really a beautiful, conducive way to practice mindfulness. To, if a lot of people are talking about mindfulness, and there's different ways to approach it and start to strengthen that muscle. It's a power of the mind. But what we find is that when we use the body as the object of focus for the mind, that works really, really well. The mind accepts that and really enjoys that. So while we're practicing Lu Jong, not only are we doing the movements, and not only are we adding these nice rhythmic breathing patterns, but we're just really present with our practice. So that means, you're not thinking about what's for dinner later or a conversation you had earlier. You're just really in the here and now, in the present moment. So it is a comprehensive system. So Lu means body in Tibetan, and Jong means like training or refinement. So taken together, this is like body education or body refinement. And actually, Lu Jong is a somewhat general term. There's actually many, many movement and exercise practices in Tibetan Buddhism, and I'm going to come back to that and talk a little more to that in a few minutes. But there's many different Lu Jong movements. Now, what I teach, and as Jacob mentioned in the introduction, is what I learned from my teacher, Tulku Lobsang. So I have a little picture, just what I had nearby. That's Tulku Lobsang. And what he created, he collated. He knows many, many of these different movements, and he brought them together in this clear system. So, for example, Lu Jong level 1, and I also teach a level 2, but we're talking mostly level 1 here today, is in groups of movements, where the first group of movement is called the 5 elements movements, and it really focuses on the spine and nurturing the spinal health. The next group of movements is more for the musculoskeletal system in general. So there's a bit more focus on the joints. And then there's a group of movements that's focusing on the vital organs. So the points that are targeted by these movements are helping to nurture the circulation and flow to the vital organs. And then there's another group of movements that is basically common imbalances, common conditions for digestion, improving the senses, the temperature in the body. So actually I have a poster here to just give a sense. This is a quick snapshot of all of the Lu Jong level 1 movements. So, you know, the 5 elements movements, and then for the joints, the organs, the body parts, and then those are some extra movements for sleep and wakefulness. So we do have a very comprehensive teacher training program as well. And I just want to edit something that Jacob said. It's I train teachers. So I am one of only 2 active Lu Jong educators. However, I have trained other people to teach. So there's more than just 2 of us in the US and Canada who are teaching Lu Jong. And there's far more people in Europe, because that's where the organization is based. That's where Tulku Lobsang is based. So there's, I don't know, maybe 1,000 something teachers at this point in Europe. So, you know, here, just to give an example, we have our manual. It's quite a developed system for teachers. So I just wanted to correct that. I'm one of 2 educators, but there are more Lu Jong teachers. Okay, I'm going to go a bit into the background of it. So through the lens of Lu Jong, what's really amazing is that I could actually talk about all of the Tibetan worldview. There's so much that it draws upon: Tibetan medicine, Tibetan astrology, Buddhist psychology, Tantrayana, Bön. What I'm going to focus on, I'm going to pick 3 of those main roots, and we're going to just say a few words about Tibetan medicine and Tantric Buddhism and Bön. So Tibetan medicine, this is an established medical system. It's very real medicine. It's very much dealing with the physiology and functioning of the body, has a system of diagnosis and treatment. The diagnosis is from the pulse diagnosis, which is quite a beautiful art, observation and questioning, urine analysis. And then from this, then there's many treatments that are applied, including herbal remedies, even therapies such as moxibustion, behavioral modification with diet, and these such things. And because Lu Jong is rooted in principles of Tibetan medicine, in a very real way, it's balancing the physiology and the systems of our body. And one of the main ways it does that is through balancing the 3 humors. I'm not going to go too deep into this. I just kind of want to touch upon it so you get a sense of all that Lu Jong is drawing upon. And if you're familiar with Ayurveda and the concept of, the three doshas, it's the same in what I'm referring to here in the three humors with Tibetan medicine. But basically the three humors are these psycho-bio-energetic substances in our body. It's like the condensation of the energy of the five elements. But together, the three humors, which are phlegm, bile, and wind, are responsible for all the functioning in our body. And the system gets quite complex or mature, we could say. There's 5 different types of each of the humors. They have specific locations and functions in the body, in a very real way responsible for our body functions. But when I said that they're the manifestation or embodiment of the 5 elements, what I mean there is that the phlegm humor is earth and water elements. So this means it has the quality of coolness, heaviness, cohesion, and moisture in the body. Whereas the bile element is, or the bile humor is associated with the fire element. So this is the heat function and also like metabolism and transformation that happens, the transformation chemical reactions in our body. This is all the realm of bile. And then finally we have the wind humor. This is more of a drying, but it has transportation. That's its main power. So you see that all of these serve a purpose, and we need to have them balanced in order to have a balanced, healthy, resilient body. So I'm going to come back to this idea of the elements because this is really important with our Lu Jong practice. But suffice to say that the movements themselves are serving to balance the humors in the body. They're really doing that. So in a real way, it's helping our physiological systems become more balanced. Also the temperature. Temperature is so important. To have an optimal functioning body, you need optimal temperature as well. So all of this is being balanced. And this is what's meant by the Lu Jong being rooted in principles of Tibetan medicine. And secondarily, the focus on the spine is really, really important. And we know this. We know that as we age, what's kind of commonly, habitually happening is that our spines are becoming more contracted. There's less space. Their mobility is reduced. So, and this is very much connected to our health. The spine is not only the root of the body in the sense that, you know, everything's connected there. The major nerves and the arteries and veins that are feeding our organs, that's their root. It's like the trunk. Additionally, the spine is like a battery. So it's very connected with how energized we are, our stamina, just our general vitality, how well energy is being conducted and flowing in the body. This is also very much dependent on how open and functioning our spine is. So the focus on the spine is a major, major focus of Lu Jong. Not only the 5 elements movements, which we'll experience together in a few minutes, but actually most of the movements, you know, they're involving the spine and kind of checking in with different areas of the spine. So having Lu Jong in your life as a regular practice means that you're regularly doing something to nurture your spine and to create space in the vertebrae, right? So again, the main purpose of Lu Jong is openness. So it's releasing blocks and then like creating this space in the spine. And when we talk about blocks in the body, really that's the main place that becomes blocked first, is along the center of the body and the spine. So we're addressing that with Lu Jong. And then the second most common place that we become blocked, that we really, it would behoove us to regularly put some focus on opening these blocks, is in the joints. Okay, so we say in Tibetan medicine that having blocks in the joints is associated with the manifestation of disease. And basically what this means is that it's a place where toxins can accumulate, byproducts of things. So if we're not taking care to open the joints and give those places a chance to release and flow, establishing that nice flow, things tend to accumulate there, and that causes problems down the road. So Lu Jong is also addressing the joints and keeping those blocks open. And then I mentioned the breath. So not only, as I said earlier, is there a breathing pattern that's done as we do the movements. There's like a rhythm that goes with the movement. But additionally, there's a nice breathing exercise that we do after each set of movements. So the way that Lu Jong is, there's in Lu Jong 1, this poster that I showed you, there's 21 movements, and each movement would be done 7 times. This is if you do the full practice. There's ways that you can expand and contract the practice and customize it for your day. But if one were to do the full complete practice, 21 movements, each movement done for 7 repetitions. And after the 7th repetition, we do this breath exercise. And it's multifunctional. So as I mentioned, the movement is massaging places open in the body. So let's say, you have a block. This is a channel or a tube or vein or artery or energy channel, whatever you want to think of, something where things are flowing through it. So now let's say, you have a block, and we're applying and releasing pressure. We're massaging that point open through our movement. And now that block starts to open. But there was something behind it, right? There was something that was stuck. And we call that like stale or even waste energy. Okay, now we've mobilized it, right? Our movements have opened that block. We've mobilized that blocked energy, and the movement also serves to function to kind of gather everything here in the navel. So now the way that we finish it off is we do this breath exercise, which really releases it. You want to, that no longer serves us. It was blocked. We just want to let it go. So this breathing really punctuates the purpose of the movement and kind of brings it to a nice close. So I'm going to lead you through that right now. You can do it with me. It's very simple and very effective, like all of Lu Jong, really. It's called Lung Rosel, Lung Rosel. And that's translated as exhaling the waste wind, which is exactly what it's doing. And all we do is we use the hands to kind of accompany the movement and to help the breath go, guide the breath deeper into the body. And then on the exhale, we use the mantra Ha, H-A. And it's just like an aspiration. And this mantra really serves to kind of bring up, to kind of pull up from that navel area, that stale wind energy that we no longer want. It helps bring it up and release it. So what we'll do together 3 times is, I think you can kind of see me. Yes, so I've got my hands down at my navel, and I inhale. Okay, so I invite you to do that with me now 3 times in a row, and really use that mantra Ha to fully exhale. So you can get that release, completely empty the lungs with the ha. Okay, so breathing in. Beautiful. Again. One more time. Okay, it should be nice and relaxing at the same time, just kind of nice letting go. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to my next topic, which is Tantrayana Buddhism. So while it is absolutely true that Lu Jong is a very practical health method and could be taught in a secular way, just focusing on Tibetan medicine and improving your resilience to disease and self-healing capacity, it is also true that it is inseparable from Buddhism. It is a Buddhist practice, and it's the beginning and setting the stage and the foundation for entering into much deeper practices. So, and Tibetan medicine itself, I have to say, I had to cut a lot out, but Tibetan medicine and the humors, which I mentioned, also very much bridge the mind and emotions. So Tibetan medicine itself is also inseparable from Tibetan Buddhism. So in short, Buddhism is the main principle of Buddhism, in a nutshell, is the belief that we all have Buddha nature. So this means that inherently our nature is one of clearness, awareness, wisdom. We all have this inside of us. It's who we are at our core. But what happens is things get blocked. There's obstructions, ignorances. There's old patterns and imprints that we carry with us. So basically, we're a little bit blocked from really recognizing that Buddha nature is our true nature. So all the many, many amazing methods that are included in Buddhism, they all have the singular goal of helping us come to know the real nature of our minds. Like I said, clearness, awareness. And we all want to come closer to our true nature so that we can more realize and recognize this Buddha nature that we have. And there's different paths in Buddhism. And this is one of the most amazing things about Buddhism, is that depending on your own character and your psychology and your motivations, there is a Buddhist method for you. And so to say real quickly that, if I were to, and of course I'm simplifying and things go much, much deeper than this, but just to give a general sense that there's a path in Tibetan Buddhism we can call Hinayana or Theravada, which is more akin to what we think of with religion, with vows and right behavior and these kinds of things. And then there's another path, which we call Mahayana, which is a lot more, philosophy, deep understanding, compassion from different directions, really heart focused. And then we have Tantrayana Buddhism, or Vajrayana is, it's commonly called in the West Vajrayana. My teacher says Tantrayana. It's a very traditional term, and so I use Tantrayana as well. And the Tantric Buddhism, again, has the same goal of transforming and clarifying the mind, but it does it through the body as a vehicle. So Tantrayana Buddhism is a little bit more like science in the sense that it's empirical. It's very experience-based. apply these methods, and it's very much about action and feeling and doing, and then you have these results. But the idea here is that in recognition of the deep, deep interconnectedness and inseparability of the body and the mind means that the changes that we make to the body have corresponding changes in the mind. So we change one, we change all. So it just depends on which direction is your starting point. Are you going to start with calm mind as the focus, or are you going to start with bliss body as the focus? And so through the tantric path, we're going through the body. And more specifically, I'm referring to the subtle body here. So Tantrayana Buddhism, it's like it picks up where Tibetan medicine leaves off. Tibetan medicine is very much about this gross physical body. And, we talk about the way that the body is built. It goes through these 7 constituents. The nutrients that you eat become the blood. So the best part of the nutrients of your food go to build your blood. The best part of the blood goes to the fat. The good fat, all your cells have fat membranes, and your hormones, the cholesterol, those are all fats. And then the best part of the fat goes on to flesh, muscles, ligaments, tendons. And then the best part of the flesh goes to build the bone. And the best part of the bone goes to build the marrow. And the best part of the marrow goes to the essence, which in the gross physical body is like reproductive, the eggs and the sperm, as well as hormones. The essence is the most refined part of the body. But here we're still talking gross essence. Now, Tantrayana Buddhism picks things up here. So for example, let's say someone is having they know something's not right with their body, like fibromyalgia or, chronic fatigue syndrome, something like that. And let's say this person goes to a series of doctors and they do all kinds of tests and they say, kind of seems like everything's okay. Everything looks good on paper. You're fine. You're just fine. And the person says, I know I'm not fine. My energy's off. My mind is off. I have this pain that's moving everywhere. Something's not right. So in Tibet, traditionally, this is when you would go to a Tantrayana master, because now we're saying there's something happening on a more subtle level, the subtle body. So what is the subtle body? It's basically 3 components. It's the channels, which I've mentioned a few times. Basically it's like, a highway or a roadway or a river where something is traveling in this passageway. So channels. And then we have the wind energy and the essence. And the wind and the essence are traveling in the channels. So we have 72,000 different channels in the body. And these channels do become blocked. It's somewhat natural that this happens. I mean, each day we lose a channel, and this is really the process of aging. But unfortunately, we tend to accelerate this process through wrong diet, eating too much, eating too little, eating the wrong things, or wrong movement. Too much, too little, the wrong movement. All of these things, also negative emotions, fighting with people, having difficult situations, all of these things can cause our channels to become blocked. And when the channel is blocked, then that means that that wind energy and that subtle essence, which is very much connected to our vitality and our ability to experience joy and happiness. So when I talk about essence, and it's a big subject, but just to say a couple sentences so you can recognize its importance in a quick way, it's like the ability to have happiness and joy in a moment to moment of your day. So someone who has not well-functioning essence, either they're not producing enough or it's blocked and not flowing well, a symptom of this would be feeling unhappy or depressed, but without a clear reason. You know, like, gosh, I have so much to be grateful for. I've got a roof over my head. I've got a great partner and food on the table. Why don't I feel happy? What's wrong? This can very much be connected with the essence. Or an opposite example would be, you know, someone's out for a walk in the neighborhood and they're just, oh, look how beautiful the way the light is shining on that flower. Oh, look at that brilliant color. Oh, do you hear the wind in the leaves? Oh, how amazing. Just that being able to find joy in every moment. That's some really good functioning, flowing essence. So when we become blocked, there's also a deep connection with our mind and consciousness here. It's like the mind rides on the wind energy. So when there's blocks in the channels, the mind and the consciousness is also blocked. So on the flip side, doing practices to open blocks in the channels and to reestablish a harmonious flow of this energy and the essence that it's carrying, this is the transformation of the mind. So the mind also becomes flowing. The mind becomes calm and peaceful and loving. As opposed to when there's blocks, a blocked mind is a rigid mind. It's a mind it's stuck in these habitual looping thought patterns. You know, you had a fight with someone and you want to stop thinking about it, but it's just coming again and again. This is also a symptom of blocks. So by releasing, Lu Jong, the movements, just like really all the practices of Tantric Buddhism, are all about releasing blocks in the subtle body channels. And by doing this, not only are we serving our physical health and its relationship to Tibetan medicine, but now it becomes a spiritual practice very much, because it's cultivating more of a calm, peaceful mind and this flow of energy that we can then use for higher spiritual purposes. And Lu Jong is just the beginning of this path. I mean, it's complete in itself and it's enough. It's what I love about Lu Jong is its accessibility. I mean, someone who's looking just simply to keep their spine healthy, or just simply to have good energy and stamina, or they want to start a meditation practice, but it's difficult to sit on a cushion and stop your thoughts. That person will find what they're looking for Lu Jong. And as one starts to train the subtle body channels to be more open and more supple and flexible, then we can move on and we can build on that and go to some deeper practices. So the next would be Tsalung. Tsalung, I also teach Tsalung. And now it's also movements focusing on targeting particular movement points in the body, particular essence points. But now with Tsalung, we're using breath retention. So one learns a very specific technique to retain the breath, hold the breath inside so the channels are full of this wind energy, and then we apply different movements, again, for the same purpose of opening these channels, reestablishing harmonious flow of energy and essence, and thereby causing a transformation in the mind where the mind is more calm and clear. And then from there, after Tsalung is preparing us for Tumo practices. This is the inner fire practice. Again, same principle of releasing blockages, but now we're using the fire to get to more subtle places. And then after that is the bliss practice. Tumo is very connected with bliss. This is the watery practice. And we say that there's bliss, bliss hormones, I guess you could say, or, you know, happiness chemicals. There's something here, which right now it's like our minds are kind of frozen. We often use a body of water is a great metaphor for the mind. So if we think of it currently in our current state, our mind is kind of frozen. It's kind of solid. It's kind of rigid. But as we do these practices and generate this inner warmth, it starts to melt. And then it has a chance to release these really pure chemicals. But the bliss is not about feeling good. It's about accessing this awareness beyond thought, this natural wisdom. And so then the final practice is Rigpa, which is the space. Now this is just really tapping into the nature of the mind, which is like clear emptiness. So anyway, just to reiterate that Lu Jong is very practical for your health and happiness, but it's also setting a foundation to go much deeper in practices of Tantrayana Buddhism. And I'm just going to talk a few more minutes, and then we'll start to experience it and move about a bit. Bön. So I need to say just a few slight words about Bön, because there is also a root there with Lu Jong. So Bön, that's B-O-N, but it has the umlauts over the O, those two dots. Bön is the indigenous tradition of Tibet. So before Buddhism was introduced, this is what the people were practicing, Bön. And it's a bit more shamanic, nature-based, very much nature-based. And Buddhism did not supplant Bön because it's so deeply rooted in the spirit of the Tibetan people, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful system and approach. So actually, they started borrowing from each other, so that over the centuries, there became a lot more overlap, where Bön would take some of the Buddhist principles, Buddhism would take some of the Bön principles, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama even said that Bön is like the fifth great school of Tibetan Buddhism. So there are many Tibetan teachers that have been trained in both, including my teacher, Tulku Lobsang. So he entered the monastery at age 6. He was born in Tibet and received very traditional Tibetan Buddhist education in the monasteries. But the first monastery he went to was a Bön monastery, and he received all of these empowerments. Then he was recognized as a Tulku. Tulku means a recognized reincarnated Lama. And then he moved to, maybe at that point he already was at the Gelug Monastery, and received those intensive education and became a doctor of Tibetan medicine as well. But the reason I mentioned Bön very much has a very rich tradition with the 5 elements. And they play a big role in our Lu Jong, because the first group of movements, and we'll do some from this group, are the 5 elements movements. And this group of movements particularly has some rootedness in the Bön tradition. Now, Tulku Lobsang, he modified some of these movements to make them more accessible for Westerners. I think that some of these movements were done in a much more dynamic way, maybe with a more challenging breathing pattern. But Lu Jong, as we practice it, is very accessible. It's very gentle and calming. And there's modification. So really it's accessible to anyone of any age, of any physical ability. The energy of the 5 elements, and many, if not most, traditions, like indigenous traditions around the planet, have this idea of the 5 elements. And it's such a beautiful, elegant way to understand the myriad of things in nature. And basically the 5 elements are like these archetypal energies. Like each element is a collection of particular qualities and tendencies. So in short, like earth has a colder quality to it. It has a heavier quality to it, kind of downward, kind of stable quality to it. And of course, we need those things, but then it needs to be balanced with the right amount of fire. Fire, we know has a hot quality. It's very light and moving and upward going. As opposed to water and wind, they all have their own particular actions and tendencies and powers. So what's important is the balance of them all together. So the 5 elements movements are really, really serving to balance the energy of the elements in our body and also in our mind. Again and again, this interconnectedness of body and mind comes up because the elements are also associated with our emotions. All phenomena in existence are composed of the 5 elements, including the qualities of our mind. And we know this. I mean, innately, you know, which element is anger associated with? Fire, right? We have fiery temper and the heat, so my point being, I want to move on to our movement practice. My point being that in balancing the elements, this is also balancing the function of the 3 humors and all of the function and, the physiology, the circulation system and digestion and immune and all of those things in the body, but also the mind and your emotions. So there's a place for talk therapy. Absolutely. Reflecting on things, understanding your triggers, understanding the story you've been telling, there's a place for that. And one can also heal and balance many things in the body by working with the body. Heal many things in the mind by working with the body in very directed, wise ways. So in doing practices like Lu Jong, we are also balancing and healing our mind. So it is, in a really real way, a practical method for both health and happiness. Whew, there's a lot there. I've been talking for a long time. So I love Lu Jong, you might imagine. I originally learned Lu Jong in early of 2002. In India, which is when I met my teacher. And as much as I've learned since then, I teach and I practice many different things in this Tantric Buddhist tradition. But Lu Jong, particularly the 5 elements movements, which are a complete practice, always remain a staple. You don't outgrow them. And the reason is, before we practice, I have to circle back. It's about openness. So when we do Lu Jong, you have to kind of shift. If you're used to doing regular Western exercise where it's all about stretch and flexibility, that's not the point. It doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, the more flexible you are, it's actually a bit more challenging because we want to really feel the body. That's the point. Really feel the body. Then you know something's happening. Then you know some opening is being created. So if someone's really, really, really flexible, they have to go and try. They have to go that much further and try that much harder until they really feel something. So as you're doing the movements, really feel your body. Remember that mindfulness of everything. It's just an open awareness, mindfulness of the body, because it's about openness. It's about releasing tension. This is relaxation. But real, true relaxation is medicine. It is medicine for the body, and it is medicine for the mind. It's not laziness. Relaxation is an art. To do it right, you're going to be energized afterwards, and you have more calm and focus as well when you relax really well. And Lu Jong helps us release tension and relax and experience a bit more of like a peaceful expansiveness. Okay, and as we do that, we create a strength and a resilience, right? So when your body is stronger and has less blocks, that means you're going to recover from disease faster. You'll receive less disease, but none of us has perfect health. As long as we're in this conditional world, we're subject to conditions, and we will get sick. There will be imbalances, but if you have developed a strong body, you're going to heal that much faster, right? But it's the same thing on the level of the mind. If you're doing things like Lu Jong or whatever practice you feel a calling to do to cultivate this calm, peaceful mind, that means you'll recover from suffering faster. There will be suffering. In this world, we will have problems. Don't be surprised. There's always going to be problems. We learn from these problems, and we have suffering. But just as you can recover from disease faster, you can also recover from suffering faster by taking care and exercising the power of this mind, coming closer to our true nature. So that's what you have to look forward to. I think what I'll do is I'll lead us through some movements and then come back here to give you a chance to ask some questions. But I do want to be sure to get to the movements, so I'm going to do that first. The first few movements we're going to do are done standing. And I really invite you to do this with me if you have a good space for it. I want you to take care that you have some good grip. So either you're standing on a yoga mat, or it's okay to do it on the floor, but if you're on hardwood floors, you take your socks off so that you're not sliding. Just take care, because we will be in a wide stance and I don't want your feet to slide. And then some of the other movements we'll do from a seated position. Usually we do these seated on the ground on a cushion. You could also do it from a chair. I'll guide you as well. But the important thing is that you're relaxed and comfortable with a straight spine. Okay, so find your standing position. So we're going to begin, and this is our motivation posture, just setting the stage, just being grateful and cultivating a feeling of happiness. And then I'm going to guide you through the space element movement. This is the first movement of the whole practice. So we're going to stand wide. And I'm quite wide as I comfortably can be and still feel stable. And my toes are pointed outwards. My hands are going to go on my hips, but I'm going to have the thumbs to the front and the fingertips to the back. Okay. And all we're going to do is hinge at the hips and bring our head towards the ground and then go back. Watch me as I do it once, and I'll turn a little bit so you can see. So watch what I do. Okay, so that's one. What I'm doing is I'm exhaling as I go down and really elongate the spine. We're creating space, right? So you're really going out as you go down, and you release the head at the bottom. And then we come back up with an inhale. Then we hold the breath, keep the breath inside, no breathing, as you just gently, no pain whatsoever. You don't go to the point of any sort of pain ever. You just open up a little with the chest, not shoving the hips forward. Keep the hips over the ankles, but just a little opening of the chest. Let's try it together, okay? I'll guide us through it. So you have your fingertips to the back, nice wide stance. Inhale to prepare. And now exhale, hinge forward, release the head. Inhale, rise up. And now hold the breath as you open the heart. And keep flowing. One nice, smooth, continuous movement. Exhale down. Inhale, rise up. Hold as you stretch. And then come right out of it. We're like a pendulum, just flowing. Inhale up, hold. Beautiful. Few more here. Exhale down. Nice deep breath. Hold. Good. Couple more. Exhale. Inhale, rise. Okay, let's do our last one. Exhale down. Inhale. And release. Now we need to do Long Ro Sao. Remember? Let's do it together 3 times. Okay, that was our space element movement. That movement is touching every single vertebra, and it's creating space and opening the navel and the heart. A lot of beautiful things happening there. Okay, I'm going to give you one more movement from that first group, the 5 elements movements, and this is earth. So now earth, we're really rooted and we're really focusing on the power coming from the navel area. And now what we're doing is it's a twist of the spine. I'll show you what it looks like and then talk a few points and then we'll try it together. So it looks like this. Okay, so you see I'm bringing my opposite shoulder in the direction of my knee. You don't have to get there. It's just the direction that we're moving is this, bringing the opposite shoulder to the inside of the knee. And the rest of my spine is just kind of, including my neck, is just kind of naturally following that spiral that we're creating. Now the feet are very, very rooted when you're doing this, our earth element movement. You want to be connected to the ground. And the other really important thing here is that we do pivot the feet and the back leg as well. The back leg is very straight, while the front leg, it's kind of like, the warrior position, if you're familiar with that in Hatha Yoga. The back leg is very straight and the front is bent and the feet are rooted. But then when I switch, then I pivot. So each time I'm doing this, I'm pivoting the feet. So I'm not getting any weird torsion on that knee. The breathing pattern is inhale to the side and then exhale back up to the center. Inhale to the side, back up to the center. And again, you want to have one nice flowing movement. There's always movement in Lu Jong. There's no point where we're statically holding anything. So I'm going to turn around so that we're moving together, and you can follow me. We should begin to the left, but I don't know if I'm kind of flipped because of the camera. But anyway, do your best. You'll have a nice experience. So, hands are on the hips in the usual way now. Okay, pivoting the feet to the left. Inhale, twist. Exhale. Inhale, twist. Exhale. Make sure to pivot the feet. Nice. Nice and rooted, your earth element movement. Nice flowing rhythm as we inhale to twist and exhale coming up. a few more. Okay, we're gonna do one last set. Really feel your body. Nice twist of the spine. Exhale. And long rosal. Really use that ha to release, empty the lungs. Okay, while we're standing, I'm going to do another standing movement from a different group. This is for the group, the 5 vital organs, and this is our kidney movement. So the kidney movement, we stand with our feet together. If that's uncomfortable for you, you can have a little space, but the feet are together. And the arms are up behind me with the palms up. Throughout the whole entire movement, we're keeping the arms up like this. This is part of the challenge of the movement, is to really keep those arms engaged and up the whole entire time. And then all we're gonna do is hinge forward and then come up. And there is a little bit of an arching and opening the heart to the sky. Okay, so exhale down and then inhale up. We come up a little bit faster, but nothing too extreme. Anyway, there are some fine details here, but for the experience that you're having, this is enough. So palms are up behind you. Inhale to prepare. And now exhale, hinge forward. Inhale. Exhale down. Nice flowing movement. Exhale down. Keep those arms lifted. Okay, a couple more. Exhale. Last one together. Exhale down. Okay. Hello, Rosa. Really release. Okay, I'm going to change my position so that get your nice, comfortable seated position, either on the ground or on the edge of a chair, but nice, straight, stacked spine. Okay. I think this is okay. Okay, so if you are on a chair, then I would like for you to sit a little bit more on the edge of the chair and have your feet in a wide stance and really well rooted to the ground. And for all of us, straight spine, relaxed shoulders. Okay, So this movement is the first of the 5 body parts, or the ones for the musculoskeletal system. And this is focusing on the neck. We carry a lot of tension in the neck. So this is a really feels wonderful. It's a 2-part movement, very simple, but lots of feeling here. And all we're going to do with the whole body still, we're just going to lower the chin into the throat. So it's like you're stretching this occipital region here. So kind of lowering the chin into the throat and then looking up. Right? So we're just going to do that 7 times, and similar breathing pattern to what we've done, that you exhale, dropping the chin down, and then inhale up. Nice, smooth flowing rhythms, and really feel this openness in the neck. Okay, so exhale down, inhale, look up. Exhale, chin down. Inhale. Okay, let's do one last one. Chin down. Inhale, chin up. Now we're going to do part 2, which is side to side. The rest of the body stays completely still. We're not lifting up the shoulders, but we're just dropping the ear to the shoulder. And inhale as we go to the side, and exhale back to the center. So beginning left should be. So inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Nice. Just really drop into this and feel. Inhale, dropping the ear down. Exhale, rising up. Okay, we'll do one last set. Inhale to the side. Exhale up. Now the other side. Okay, and again, Lung Rosel. Okay, here's another movement from this group, focusing on some specific vertebrae in the upper back. It's called Ling Tanze, making a triangle. So take your left hand and put it on top of your right shoulder, and keep that elbow lifted. So we're not going to drop it here. We're going to keep it lifted. And then the right comes on top. Okay. So it's kind of like, just so you can hear me, I'm dropping it. It's kind of like your chin is tucked inside because the elbows are parallel to the ground and lifted. And all we're going to do is, just rotating, like the spine is a pole, not leaning side to side, but just rotating like this while we have our hands in this position. So we'll inhale to the side and then exhale back to neutral. So give it a try with me. Inhale. Exhale. The rest of the body should be very stable. The butt's not coming off the ground. So inhale to the side, exhale back to the center. But nice flowing movement. Think of a pendulum. You should feel this in your upper back around the shoulder blade area, a little lower. Let's do one last set. Inhale to the side. Okay, exhaling the waist wind. Okay, and just to close out this little taste experience of Lu Jong, I want to end as we always do, which is a couple minutes enjoying the stillness of the mind that we created. So it's a great opportunity. The mind has gotten settled down. It's had its object of focus and the calm breathing. So just literally 1 minute, just relax. Don't try to hold on to anything. Just relax and be in stillness and let the mind settle just for 1 minute. Let's do together. Okay, so that was just a little sample of Lu Jong. It wasn't complete, obviously. I jumped around so you could have a little bit of an example from the different movements. Should be that we do each one 7 times. But you can imagine that as you're going through, you do 1 minute, one movement, long roselle, and then you move directly into the next one. You just get into this really nice flowing rhythm. And it really is a meditation in movement. And by the time you get to the end of it, we always add, even just, like I did, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something at the end there, because what you'll find is even if you already have a seated meditation practice, it's preparing the mind to settle down. So I think the mind is really ready after we've given it Lu Jong. So it's just an opportunity. Take the opportunity. The mind is ready to settle down. Let's experience that stillness. Okay, well, we've got 15 more minutes here, and I'd like to open the floor if you have any questions. I think you have the possibility to unmute yourself if you'd like, and just speak your question, and I'll do my best. Any questions?
Hi, yeah, I have a question. So I was wondering, why do we move to the left first?
That's, sorry, I was changing my volume so I could hear you better. It's really mostly symbolic, actually. So returning back to the talk of the subtle body and the system of channels, the main channels in the subtle body are the central channel, and then the left side and right side channel. And the left side channel is a little more associated with wisdom or like positive emotions. So it's symbolic that we start to that side. We often, there's another, I mean, it's not part of Lu Jong, but another thing that I've learned that one can do first thing in the morning, like when you wake up and you're in bed, to block your right nostril and just breathe 7 times through the left nostril, to kind of start things on that positive. Now, ultimately, it's about balancing both of them and bringing everything into the central channel. But when we have to do side to side, we start by honoring the left side. And I think it's also interesting that the heart is more to the left side as well.
Very interesting, thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else?
Just curious if if Lu Jong, or maybe you could speak to the Tibetan Five, because I've been practicing the Tibetan Five for many years, and if Lu Jong touches on any of that at all, or if that's a completely separate practice.
Okay. 2 things I'd like to say there. One, what we're doing today is Lu Jong,
Lu
L-U.
Jong. Thank you.
And because there is Lu Jong, which is L-O, and that's mind training. So Lu Jong is different. We're doing Lu Jong. Lu Jong is different from, so what he's asking about, and many people have heard of something called the Five Tibetans. And it's a series of 5 movements, and they're great movements. I know them, I'm familiar with them. I think that they're very beneficial. They're focusing more on the chakras, which would be like energy centers in the body, whereas our 5 elements movements is working with the elements. The thing about the 5 Tibetans is that no one really knows where they came from. They were popularized by, I believe, a British journalist or someone who had been traveling in Tibet and then learned them from somebody and then put them in a book. But nobody can trace what lineage are they really from, what transmission. And the thing is in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, lineage and transmission are really, really important. So I'm not saying anything wrong about them. I think that they're great movements and they're great for opening the different energy channels, but we don't know where they came from, and they're not part of Lu Jong or connected to Lu Jong in any way that I'm aware of.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I have some small questions here. I don't want to talk over anybody, sorry. Okay, so following on what you just said, I'll just mention the 3 little questions at once. It'll probably to take up less time. So what lineage, where did this begin, the Lu Jong? Because that's really important for us to know. And then as well, can you differentiate, or maybe there is no difference except that this is Tibetan, between Tai Chi and Qigong and Lu Jong? And then the 3rd small question was, when we were doing the shoulder to knee exercise, I'll call it exercise, it seemed that the breathing was opposite of what my body would normally do, because when I would bend over, I would exhale, not inhale. Now, maybe I heard you incorrectly. Maybe that was just my mind playing tricks on me. But if you could just clarify that for me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good questions. So the first regarding the lineage. So I'm teaching, for sure it's Tulku Lobsang's lineage, because I need to credit him with creating the system of, you know, how I'm talking about these different groups. And if you, the thing, Lu Jong is a system in the sense that if you were to do the whole practice, you start at A and you go in a very specific order, A to Z. And we can do one group here and one group there. But anyway, the system of it is definitely attributed to Tulku Lobsang, and also that these modifications that he added to the movements with this breathing pattern and the little bit gentleness of it, and choosing the specific movements that he felt most addressed Western needs after he'd met with many patients as doctor of Tibetan medicine. So that's the most immediate lineage. I mean, when I do a teacher training, it's his organization that ultimately is giving the certificate. He's giving the blessing to teach in his name. But if you want to take a longer view, we can look at what lineage he comes from. So he is a Tulku in the Gelug tradition. However, when he was in Tibet and receiving his intensive studies, he felt very, very drawn to all these movement practices in Tibetan Buddhism. So he actually went and sought out masters from all the different schools, including the Jonang tradition, which holds the Kala Chakra traditions very strongly, to really learn all these movement practices, Lu Jong, Tsalung, the Tumo. So he's quite unique in the sense that I mean, obviously I can't prove this and it's a really big statement, but I feel strongly enough that I feel comfortable to say it, which is that I think that he holds most of the, like most strongly, these movement traditions from Tantric Buddhism, but then it's from different lineages. Then we need to say he's Rime, because he's not just teaching from the Gelug tradition, but also has Nyingma and Sakpa. And so when someone is non-sectarian like this and going to kind of more distilling the essence before the schools went in their various specialties, he's Rime. And then if we want to go back even further, the roots of the movements themselves, they actually have a couple different roots. So the five elements movements are from the Bön tradition mostly, where it's very nature-based and elements. Some of the other movements were taught by Buddha himself, the Sakyamuni Buddha, historical Buddha Shakyamuni, or they were received by yogis who, I mean, sometimes we say that, I mean, I don't know, the Tibetans wouldn't use the word channeled, but like they were, either they were students of the Buddha or that they were spontaneously arrived at these movements. But we're talking a long time ago, the Bön movements as far as 8,000 years ago. And then of course, the Buddhism one. So it has these different roots. But in short, when I say lineage, I need to talk about Tulku Lobsang. It's really, everything I teach comes from him. Now, your next question was regarding comparing to Qigong and Tai Chi. So I mean, that's not my area of specialty. I've learned some over the years, but it's not a main practice of mine. But what I can say from what I know is that the approach and the goal and, you know, intention of it is very parallel. Basically what we're doing in this Tantric Buddhism, it's an inner alchemy, right? So we're recognizing that the body is not just matter, but has this energetic battery component to it, and that the battery is functioning better when things are open and flowing well. So this approach of releasing blockages and establishing a nice flowing harmonious energy for the purpose of higher spiritual development, which I see as an alchemy. And what it means is when you're changing the state of the body in this way, the blocks and the energy flow, you're creating corresponding changes in consciousness. You're expanding the consciousness in different ways. So I feel that that intent is the same, and that at least the Qigong that I've learned is also flowing, like there, you know, I'm doing, well, anyway, that the movement is continuous. And that's a special thing with Lu Jong that's also shared with the Qigong that I know, that it's a continuous flowing movement, whereas Hatha Yoga, there's a static hold of a pose, and that we never do. Now, I mean, there could be many reasons for that, but Lu Jong, I think, is maybe a little more targeted because there really are specific points. The movements are quite simple. You see, like, I mean, there's some that are a little more complicated, but what I showed with you, I mean, just doing this, it's like we're honing in on a couple particular points and just massaging those points like a target, boom, 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 boom. And maybe Qigong isn't as targeted, but I don't know, actually, I'm ignorant about that. And then I'll get to your third, which was about the earth element movement and the breathing pattern. I don't think that you heard it wrong. The way to breathe is that we were inhaling into the twist and then exhaling out of it. And you're right that it is opposite what many, like particularly like exercising, like, and I also love to exercise, you know, like squats and lunges and those kinds of things. Usually the principle there is that you exhale on the exertion. So this is the opposite. And there is a reason for it. We actually, the principle of the breathing pattern in Lu Jong is that we want our channels to be full of wind energy, breath, during the crux of the movement. So the most challenging part of the movement, so in space, you know, when we were arching back, that's the challenging, a little bit vulnerable part of the position. We want our channels to be full. And we weren't breathing in that moment. And that's because this is how we, two reasons. One, it keeps it safe in order to have the channels full and not like the breath moving, you know, it keeps it more safe. But returning to our main goal, which is releasing blockages, we're not thinking about building muscle here. It's all about releasing blocks. So when we're in those points, in that twist, if the channels are full, this helps facilitate reaching those blocks and massaging them. So yes, we breathe into the more challenging part of the movement.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I think there was someone else who also was starting to speak, and I think we have time.
I have a question, regarding breathing out, exhaling. Is it through the nose or through the mouth?
So generally, while we're doing the movements, we would want to breathe entirely through the nose during the movements, if possible. This is because first Hill, we kind of always want to breathe in through the nose. The nose is designed as a filter, so it's really serving a purpose. It's cleaning the air that we breathe from particulates and organisms, as well as it's helping to adjust the temperature. So we're meant to breathe in through our nose, but also that the breath is softer and can go a little bit deeper. When we inhale and exhale through the nose. On the exhale, it helps kind of slow it down a little bit because we're really trying to get this nice, deep, rhythmic, flowing breath. And for some of the movements, you know, we do want to slow the breath down so that we have enough time to do the movement. Like, this is not a big movement to do, but we're taking a full inhale, full exhale. So through the nose really helps slow it down. The exception to that is when we do Long Rosel. There I would inhale through my nose, but of course now I'm using that mantra ha on the exhale, and that's now through the mouth. The mantra is really important to serve that purpose of pulling up and releasing that stale wind. Okay, well, I have 12:30, so I'm going to honor your time.
Question.
Oh, okay.
I was just wondering, what was the waist breath? What the 3 breaths that we do? How do you spell that? What's that called?
Oh, so the first word is pronounced lung, so it's pronounced like Loong, but we actually write it like lung, like Lung,
Right.
but it's lung, that means wind.
Okay.
And then ro is the next word, RO. And the third one is cell, SEL. Lung, ro, cell. And it means, I mean, I'm switching the order, but it means exhaling the waste wind.
Okay. Thank you.
And you can do that anytime. I mean, take that with you. You know, it's part of Lu Jong, but it's really nice to just, it's a nice reset and just.
Very grounding, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, well, I am going to wrap this up. So
I
I'm
say thank you first.
sure.
Thank you very much. And boy, I have been reminded that I need to unstiffen a few parts of my body. Thank you very much. I'm going to try your stuff.
Great, I'm glad. Yes, it's so important. This body is our vehicle, you know, and I think in a lot of spiritual traditions, sometimes we forget about the body. And I mean, for me, that's why the Tantrayana Buddhist path suits me so well, because I like the action and I love the feeling in the body. And it's the home of the mind and the consciousness, and it's connected. So we do, like, if we're not paying attention, these blocks add up. And so Lu Jong, it's like a check-in, you know, you're going through the whole body and all these different places, and you can kind of see where things have added up and what needs to go. It's just a great check-in. And I encourage you to, you know, so I didn't like fully really teach. I mean, you can try to keep doing what we did, but you know, I encourage you to look for a teacher, or the teacher trainings as well. We really need more teachers, and the training is designed, even if you don't have much experience with it, to give you a complete experience. Now, I had to postpone. My training was supposed to start on April 26th, but it got postponed. So I'll have to see. But then as of now, it would start on July, and in July. But also you can go to my website. I have, there's a free video series right now that's up, and it's about the prostration, which maybe you've seen. The prostration is it's an exercise, like a devotional exercise in Tibetan Buddhism, but there's so many layers to it, and it's doing so much at once. And that's something you could do to serve the same purpose. And I teach it, and I give a handout. But in general, I think we need to practice relaxation and releasing tension. And as we do this in the body and we cultivate this calm, peaceful mind, it's really our responsibility to do that. As we go out into the world, we need to come from a centered, grounded place. And that's how we're of most service to others. So take the time to take care of your body and take care of your mind, because that's the way that you can really be of service to everyone that you come in contact with. So thank you for being with me during this time. And I'd just like to say, if you appreciated this and got some benefit, and if you feel moved to do so, it's not mandatory by any means, but I get asked sometimes afterwards. And if you feel moved to do so, I do have a donate page on my website, and anything's appreciated. My website is TibetanHealingMovement.com /donate. And then while you're there, you can hop over to the homepage and sign up for that free video series where I teach this really complete, we call it the King exercise because it's covering everything. And that's the prostrations. And again, a big thank you to Jacob and Banyen for making this possible and adapting to the times. I'm always so honored when I can share this because I really, really believe in it. So thank you all.